A special calling, what it means to be chosen. Prepare yourself, because what I'm about to tell you may not make sense to everyone. This goes far beyond signs, repeating numbers, or meditation. It's a rare thing that only happens to a few people scattered around the world. These aren't just people who are spiritually awakening. They are people who came with a deep-seated mission to help others see beyond the fog. You may not have realized it yet, but there's a very specific feeling you've been having. It's a subtle, almost imperceptible sign that shows you have been chosen. This isn't something that draws attention or that people take seriously, but those who feel it know that after this, nothing is ever the same. It changes how you think, feel, and see yourself. It changes your very way of existing. Most people ignore this sign when it appears. They say it's stress, fatigue, or some strange phase. But it's not confusion, it's a calling. It's your soul beginning to remember why you came here. And there's something important about all of this. This sign doesn't appear for just anyone. It only manifests in those who have an energy strong enough to sustain profound changes. Changes that affect not only their own lives, but the lives of many around them. If this has been happening to you, understand that it's not a coincidence. And it won't just go away over time, because it's not a phase. It's the beginning of something bigger. Now let's dive into the 7 layers of this special process to understand why. If you're going through this, you're not just awakening, you're being chosen. Layer 1. You no longer recognize the life you've built. This kind of awakening begins without fanfare. There are no lightning bolts or bells ringing. It arrives in the middle of an ordinary day. You're on your way to work, scrolling on your phone, or folding laundry, and suddenly that strange feeling hits. Wait, this has nothing to do with me anymore. Your job, your plans, your relationships, even your own identity, everything starts to feel borrowed, as if you're living a story that isn't truly yours. Then, questions you've never asked before start to surface. Why does this matter to me? Who said this was the right thing to do? When did I stop feeling alive? At first, you try to put a bandage on it. You change your routine, go on a trip, or try to distract yourself with something fun, but nothing works. The feeling only gets stronger. It's as if something inside you is out of place, as if your essence is disconnected from the life you're leading. This is the first layer of the awakening of the chosen ones, the beginning of the second and third layers of being chosen. Most people live comfortably on autopilot, but the chosen can't do that anymore. They're pulled almost forcefully out of their old reality, whether they want to be or not. And with that comes a conflict. One part of you still wants the comfort of the familiar, but something deeper has already understood that you can't hide anymore. The illusion simply crumbles. You even try to go back, but it's as if the doors have closed, because this isn't just a change of phase, it's a farewell. You're leaving behind an entire version of who you thought you were. And the craziest part is, once this feeling appears, you can't pretend it doesn't exist. There's no way to deny what is now a part of you. Layer 2. Familiar faces start to feel strange. After you begin to detach from your old life, something else starts to change, and in a much more intense way, your relationships. People who have always been by your side start to seem different. Conversations lose their depth and the connection fades. You can be face to face with someone who has always been important in your life and still feel like you're in completely different worlds. And no, this doesn't mean you think you're better than anyone. It's just that your energy is rising in frequency and not everyone can keep up. This dissonance creates friction. Friendships weaken. You start to realize that what once made sense now sounds shallow and forced. Some people even distort what you say. Environments that were once comfortable start to feel heavy and suffocating. And listen, this hurts. It's a lonely phase. So many people abandon their own path just to not lose old ties, because nobody wants to feel alone. But those who have been called continue, even with fear, even in silence, because there comes a time when the soul no longer lets you pretend. You can no longer force yourself to fit into places where you no longer belong. And as difficult as it may seem, this stage isn't about rejection, it's about realignment. The universe is removing from your life what doesn't align with your expansion. Yes, it hurts and you feel nostalgic, but it also creates space. Space for new connections with people who vibrate on the same frequency as you. People who will see your soul, not your appearance or your past. Layer 3. You begin to feel a mission, even if you don't know what it is. Now we move on to the third layer. A new feeling is emerging within you. It's not expressive words, but it's intense, like a calling that you can't ignore. It's as if something within. This text outlines the second and third layers of a special spiritual calling. The second layer involves the painful realization that old relationships no longer fit. As the person's energy frequency rises, they find themselves disconnected from friends and family, feeling that conversations and connections have become shallow. This phase, while lonely, is described not as rejection, but as a necessary realignment. The universe is clearing space for new, more aligned connections with people who vibrate at a similar frequency. The third layer is the emergence of a strong, undeniable feeling of having a mission, even if its specific purpose isn't yet known. It's an intense inner calling that cannot be ignored. Layers 3 and 4 of being chosen. The text continues to explore the layers of this special spiritual calling. Layer 3. You begin to feel a greater purpose. There's something only you can do. It's not just about surviving day to day, paying bills, or going with the flow. It's about having a purpose, a role that is uniquely yours in this world. The curious thing is that even though you feel this so strongly, you still can't name it. It's like a puzzle where you only have a few pieces, flashes in dreams, random inspirations, intuitions that come out of nowhere. The complete picture is still far from being revealed. Even so, one thing becomes very clear. Life as it is no longer fulfills you. This is the point where many of the chosen start to feel displaced. What once made sense, your job, titles, and plans, seems colorless. The normal no longer satisfies you. You feel an attraction to something deeper, something truer, even if it's not yet visible in your external world. This feeling doesn't go away. In fact, it only grows the more you try to ignore it. It's not your imagination or an existential crisis. It's your soul nudging you, saying your mission is coming to light. And not everyone is meant to make a lot of noise. Maybe what you came here to do is quiet, discreet, but powerful. It could be something just for you, intimate and sacred. Even if you don't have clarity yet, the important thing is that it's real. If this feeling is present in you now, it's because your spiritual awakening has reached a point that few achieve, the moment when the soul begins to manifest without the interference of the ego. Layer 4. You lose interest in competing, even when you're winning. As time goes on, and you deepen this awakening, something inside you begins to change. And ambitions, but that drive to always be ahead, to be number one, to surpass everyone, starts to feel meaningless. At first, it may seem like you're losing your fire or your ambition, but that's not it. What's happening is that ambition is giving way to purpose. You no longer want to climb a ladder just because everyone else is climbing it. You no longer want to spend energy on races that don't take you where your heart wants to go. The ego that once sought recognition begins to quiet down, and in its place, a desire is born to create with truth, to serve with authenticity, and to live in a more aligned way without needing applause. This is where the chosen ones really start to stand out. While many are chasing visibility, you begin to seek meaning. Layers 4, 5, and 6 of being chosen. The text continues to explore the deeper levels of this spiritual calling. Layer 4, continued. You value meaning over medals, and you realize your value was never in the medals, diplomas, followers, or your bank account. Your soul isn't here to win, it's here to awaken. When this becomes your primary motivation, you simply stop fighting for space in places you no longer believe in. Instead, you start dreaming and building things that many can't even imagine yet. Layer 5. Time feels distorted. At some point, you begin to notice curious things happening. You look at the clock and see that an hour has passed, but it feels like only an instant, or the opposite. Only a few minutes have gone by, but it feels like you've been traveling for hours inside your own mind. This isn't a lack of focus or distraction. Your consciousness is simply beginning to operate at a different rhythm. A rhythm that no longer follows the logic of the clock. Most people live by a schedule with deadlines and goals, but when your spirit truly awakens, your
relationship with time begins to transform. You connect so deeply with the present moment that the past and future start to lose their former weight. It's as if everything is happening all at once. You realize your intuition is guiding you more than any plan, and you finally understand that living isn't about controlling everything. It's about aligning with what feels right.
You might start to feel disconnected from rigid routines or lose enthusiasm for long-term goals that once seemed so important. But this isn't a lack of discipline. It's your internal compass exchanging the clock's hands for the frequency of presence. You start to trust your inner impulses more than your schedules. You begin to notice synchronicities, meetings, messages, and signs, all arriving at the exact right time, even if it's not the time you expected. The more you open yourself to this, the more time stops being something that chases you and becomes something you can dance with, flowing along with life. Layer 6, a deep desire to be alone. Something curious begins to happen to those who are chosen. A genuine desire for moments of solitude. This happens even if you're not sad, lonely, or bored. Simply being alone starts to make more sense. It's not that you've closed yourself off from the world. You still love being with people, and you continue to care about those who are important to you. But deep down, a part of you starts to ask for silence. A silence where you can truly hear yourself. This usually comes after that phase where her final layers of being chosen. The text concludes with the final stages of this profound spiritual journey. Layer 6, continued. Finding strength in solitude. After your energetic sensitivity increases, you start to realize that being around people all the time can disrupt your own vibration. Even light conversations without deep topics can sometimes moment you step out of the noise and into your center. Many people are terrified of being alone, but the chosen begin to understand that being alone is not the same as being empty. In fact, it's in this quietness that you find strength. It's there that you reconnect, recharge, and return to the world with more clarity than ever before. When you allow yourself this space of silence, Layer 7, you can no longer wear masks. This is the deepest stage of the process, and after it happens, there's no turning back. You simply can't pretend anymore. You can't force smiles, you can't have shallow conversations, and you can't wear an edited version of yourself just to please others. This doesn't mean you've become rude or impatient. It means you've become real, of ego, but out of clarity. And suddenly everything becomes simpler. Choices are more obvious, boundaries are clearer. You even stop apologizing for who you are. It's at this point that the awakening stabilizes, not because you've become a perfect being, but because you've stopped hiding. In a world where so many people live for appearances, being genuine is revolutionary. This text describes the final profound layers of a spiritual calling. The 6th layer is a deep need for solitude, which isn't driven by loneliness, but by an increase in energetic sensitivity. The individual seeks out silence to realign their spirit, integrate new messages, and recharge. This solitude becomes a source of strength and nourishment, not an escape. The seventh and final layer is the inability to wear masks. The person can no longer pretend, forcing smiles or engaging in shallow interactions. This leads to a powerful, unapologetic authenticity. While this new reality may push some people away, it draws others in and brings a sense of wholeness and clarity. This is the point where the awakening stabilizes, not because of